So let's take a look at some of the wisdom of the wisest man, King Solomon. Some of you may know that popular song in the 50s, Turn, Turn, Turn. That quotes from King Solomon, from Koheles. For everything, there is a time and a season. And he goes through a whole list. A time to build, a time to destroy, a time to love, a time to hate, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. What exactly are we being told here? For everything, there is a season. The wisdom is endless, infinite. For everything, there is a season means, first of all, time moves and time brings change. Nothing under the sun is permanent. For everything, there is a season. When the season is over, the thing is over. Like that famous quote, "This too shall pass." It passes because there's a time for it, and when that time is over, it's over. There are seasons. In each season, there's what that season brings. When the season is over, the effect is over. So we're being told, all things come and go. For everything, there is a time limit, a time to be born and a time to die. We're not here forever. Nothing is forever, other than what God says and what God wants. That's forever. So this too will pass. By Pesach, we will be in good shape, because this season, if we're talking about seasons, is the best part of the year on our calendar. The month of Adar with Purim, the month of Nisan with Pesach. Two redemptions side by side. This is supposed to be the season of good tidings, of only good mazel. And so we have to look a little deeper and see what it is God is telling us, showing us, doing for us, and so on. The first thing we need to know is everything changes. We can get into habits, we can get into a rut of lazy thinking. What is life in America? Just for example. Life is going to work, going to school, going to parties, going to eat out, going to sports events, going to nightclubs, entertainment, and then you come home and go to sleep. This has become a ritual, or maybe even a religion. Now, because of this virus, all of that is shut down. You're not going out, you're not going anywhere, none of those things are happening. Are you still alive? You still have a life? Yes, you do. So all of those things are not essential to life. So we are now unburdened. We have now been liberated, taken out of an Egypt that has had us enslaved for a long time. Pesach is a time when we come out of our enslavements. And because of this virus, many of our enslavements have come to a sudden halt. We are not enslaved anymore to the habits that we have been considering life. And we now realize that it is not life. Going, coming, working, school, running here, running there, doing all sorts of interesting and fun things does not a life make. Now we're faced with real life. Real life has been neglected for a long time. All the jokes you read now, all the complaints you hear online, people stuck in the house with their kids, it's terrible. Like this joke, with the kids in the house, parents are going to find a cure before the doctors do. That's not a happy condition. To be uncomfortable being home with your children or with your spouse, how did this happen? How could it happen? How is it that things that are not life have become considered life? And that which is life is considered a burden, something to escape. We have to enjoy immensely our time at home. God is making it very clear. Live your life where the life is, and life is at home. We are going to be changed forever. We are being sobered. We are given wisdom. We are being liberated from our restrictions, and hopefully we'll never go back to it. It's going to be a whole new world. We're going to see the world very differently from now on. How is it possible? How can we live? How can we justify feeling awkward and uncomfortable in our own home with our own family? That's not even natural. So we're going through a very powerful healing. Obviously, I'm not talking about those who, God forbid, actually have the virus and have to fight it. But even there, watch and see the miraculous healing power that we have that will help most people recover and return to full health with greater wisdom, with greater sensitivity, with more life. So here's the real message. A virus is lifeless. It's a parasite that doesn't have a life of its own. It takes life from healthy cells. Like somebody pointed out, what is the difference between a virus and a bacteria? There's good bacteria as well as bad bacteria. Like there's good cholesterol along with the bad cholesterol, but there is no good virus. A virus is never helpful. It does not add anything to life. It takes life because it doesn't have a life of its own. And therefore it's pure unholiness. And this we just have to ignore completely and replace it with life. So if a virus comes along that represents a lack of life, the only way to respond is by getting more life. Come more alive. Be more enthusiastic about what God is giving us, what God has given us, and what God will give us. So, when King Solomon says, for everything there is a time and a season, what he's telling us is that everything that has its season is there to increase life, never to end life. So there's a time to embrace, and there's a time to refrain from embracing. There's something beautiful and powerful here. When you embrace, you're creating a closeness. When you refrain from embracing, you are creating a closeness, maybe a deeper closeness. When you don't show physical affection, does that mean there's no affection? Husband and wife who don't show physical affection are not husband and wife. They're not married. They're not committed, devoted to each other. They're not each other's life. Of course they are. But when we reduce it to only one form of closeness, and that is the physical, which is the least powerful form of closeness, then we're cheating ourselves. So King Solomon says, life comes in many flavors. Don't become so narrow and so focused that there's only one way that you can live your life. Liberated to live better. So there's a time when we live by embracing, and there's a time we live by not embracing. There's a time you're making the world better by interacting with others, and there's a time when you make the world better by not interacting. So for everything there is a time, ace, a season. What do we learn from Purim? Mordechai said to Esther, the Jews are going to be fine. I'm not asking you to go to the king to save the Jewish people. Let's not get dramatic here. Let's not get illusions of grandeur. We're not going to save the world, the planet, or the Jewish people. They're all going to be fine. But you are the queen. You didn't want to be, you don't want to be, you don't really belong there, but you had no choice. And you've been sitting there for 10 years, hiding your identity. Maybe, or most likely, the season. It is for this time, for this season, that you became the queen. Le'es kozes higat lamalchus. It is precisely for a time like this that you have become the queen. And so, if you don't go to the king, the Jews will be saved one way or another. But the purpose of your season will not be fulfilled. And that would be a tragedy. To fulfill that purpose, the one piece of the puzzle that you are supposed to add, to do that, you should actually risk your life, because this is your life. So we're all being asked. You're not going to save the world. You're not going to stop the virus. But look around. Who needs you? Who needs to hear from you? Who needs a compliment from you? Who needs an encouraging word or a physical assistance? For this, your soul came down to earth. And it's not dramatic for anybody but you. And for that, we should have complete devotion. So we learn from Purim that everything happens for a reason. Esther became queen because she needed to be there for the right moment. And when that moment comes, you don't want to blow it. So let's not be paranoid about what is unhealthy. Let's get really enthusiastic about what is healthy. And the greater the threat, the more enthusiastic we have to be. We got to fight it with more positivity. Who needs you? People are not ashamed to show their neediness. And we are free. We have time to be useful, to be helpful to others. without physical touch. So we are learning so many vital lessons. And what does all this have to do with Mashiach? What's going to change when Mashiach comes? Will we be putting on tefillin, lighting Shabbos candles, doing all the mitzvahs we do? Will we be doing that when Mashiach comes? Absolutely. In fact, that's what we're looking forward to. The ability to keep all the mitzvahs without any interference, without any difficulties. But how will it be different? Because for everything there is a season. There was a time, not too long ago, when we were motivated to be good, to be moral, because of the fear of consequences. Everybody told you, you better be good or you're going to fail. You better work hard or you're not going to succeed. You better be religious or you're going to go to hell. Most of what we did was motivated by a negative threat of failure, of pain, of suffering. So we were living our lives to avoid the negative. When Mashiach comes, that is definitely going to end. We won't even have an evil inclination. So what will motivate our mitzvah? Why will we be good to each other when there isn't a personal motive, an ulterior motive? I'll be nice to you so that you'll be nice to me when I need a favor from you. Or I'll be nice to you so that God will be nice to me. Or I'll be nice to you so that on Judgment Day I will go to heaven and not to hell. All of that is going to disappear when Mashiach comes. And because Mashiach is right around the corner, we got to get into shape. We have to start thinking that way. We have to start doing mitzvahs that way. It's not to avoid anything negative. It's to be enthusiastic about what is holy and godly and good. Here's what is happening in the world today. What we thought would give us success is really not necessary. What we thought would make a good life is not. The power that nations have or that people have, which they thought would protect them, does not. Can't even protect them from a microscopic little monster. So we have to rethink everything, and we are. It is beautiful to see the positive, moral, sensitive, kind, helpful reaction that most people are having, in addition to the panic. We're really showing the best side of humanity. We're reaching out, we're showing concern, we're self-isolating just to protect others who are more sensitive or more at risk. A lot of good is happening. So those who need to be healed should heal. They should be healthy. They should be healthier than before, because if you can overcome this, then you are stronger than you were before. But all of us should take advantage. We are being taken out of an exile. And the most important thing is the goodness that we've been doing out of habit now should be done out of conviction. Don't just be good. Be really good. It's not enough to have habits of Judaism. Yeah, you go to shul on Shabbos, you do a few things. It's life itself. It's life itself. You're good to your husband, you're good to your wife because, you got it into a routine. No, no, no. Much more than a routine. This is my life. This is where I live. This is where my soul is fulfilling its purpose. For a time like this, our souls came down to earth. So we are getting ready for Mashiach. We are discovering what life really means. We are liberated from our habits, even our good habits, or especially our good habits, because goodness deserves more than a habit. It deserves enthusiasm. It deserves respect. It deserves joy. So here we are with an opportunity to serve God truly, truly, with no personal gain, with no ulterior motives. It's just that we realized life is wonderful, the alternative is not, and life is purposeful. Nothing happens by accident. Everything has a meaning. Everything has a positive meaning. And when we engage in that, when we respond to that, we really come alive. And coming alive is what we need to do when there's a virus that seeks to draw the life out. So let's understand our enemy and let's respond appropriately. The only response to a life-taking thing is to become more alive. You fight the darkness with light. You fight the lifeless with life. And life means goodness, mindfulness, purposefulness, going out of our way, breaking out of our habits, and doing the right thing because it is so right. Doing what is good because it is so good. We don't need an ulterior motive. And now we're ready for Mashiach, when there will be no ulterior motive. So, is it an accident that this all happened between Purim and Pesach? It is the message of Purim, and it is the message of Pesach. I saw something, I don't know how significant it is, but interesting anyway. We're told that before the coming of Mashiach, there is the final war between Gog and Magog. And people have been thinking for a long time now, have we already had that war? Was it World War I, World War II? Is it yet to come? Was it the 6-Day War? So there's a medrash that says that the war between Gog and Magog is not necessarily a military battle, it's fighting a plague. And what is a plague? A plague means a life-sapping thing that forces us to come more alive. So we're at war with this thing, and it's the final battle. We're going to come out of this ready for Mashiach.